to Twitch and Stitch
Knitting Podcast.
How are you today? Very nice. I hope you're well. Silla hopes you're well too.
I do hope you're well. I really hope you feel well.
So it is the end of summertime.
It is. It's September.
I know. Exciting, hey?
It is exciting.
School starts next week. Yay!
Yay! That's super exciting.
I'm going to introduce myself.
All right. Who are you?
I am Marsha, also known as Very Little on Instagram and Ravelry. And we have a beautiful Ravelry group that Silla is now part of. And this is...
Oh, I'm like, I don't know the name of our Ravelry group. I'm Priscilla. With
I don't know who I am.
No, I thought you were saying the name of our group. I'm Priscilla, otherwise known as Silla.
Other Knitwise? Is that what you said?
Otherwise.
I sound like you said other Knitwise.
Other Knitwise, known as, I like that. Other Knitwise, known as Silla__P on Instagram, and Pudsilla on Ravelry.
Yay, she's on Ravelry.
Yay, I'm on Ravelry.
I don't feel like she's on as often as she could be.
I don't feel like I'm on as often as I could be either.
Do you know, there's this really cool feature on Ravelry, and I used to use it, and I need to use it more. And what it is you go onto Ravelry, and when you're adding your projects, you can actually add tags and extra things to it. And so what I was doing when I first started is I would put the month that it was created in.
Oh, really?
My tags. And then there's another part of it that will actually sub-separate into whatever tags are the same. So all of my projects from September were together. September 2014 or 13 were together. October 2013 were together, because I would do that September 2013, October 2013.
Okay, that's really cool.
But it's all just my own projects, because I forgot.
Oh.
And I was thinking about it again. And yeah, and so I did that, and it tells you how much yardage you've used in that month, and shows all the projects you've knit in that month. And
okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, so, well, completed in that month or whatever. So, and you can put it in 2 different sections, because you could tag it twice, so it would come out in, so you start it in September, and then you finish it in
October, so you tag both.
So you tag both dates, and then you can go in and it'll pop up under both.
Oh, that's really cool.
So then you can just look at it and see, oh, I started in September, finished in October.
That's really cool.
Or you could just do like I just did for the finished. Sorry.
Nice. I need to just spend some more time on Ravelry. Figure out what's going on there. And
there's so many things on there that are just really cool.
Sounds like it.
Super cool.
Super cool.
So what are you working on, Sil?
I am working on my, okay, let's see if it's Blanket of Forever.
Yeah, I think that's what we called it.
Yeah. My Blanket of Forever. I haven't worked on it a lot in the last I guess 2 weeks, but it's coming along. Getting a little bit bigger. My Blanket of Forever. Maybe it won't take me forever. Maybe I'll have it done by Christmas. Who knows? I'm going to be starting a new project soon, so this is going to be put on the back burner again.
And what are you going to be starting?
I am going to be starting a double knit project.
A
double knit, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Like double knit, go.
double knit, fun.
There you go.
Marsha, what are you working on?
Right this second, I am working on the brownstone for Nick, my husband, my partner. And I'm almost done the body. I didn't show the body last time because I forgot to bring it over. The sleeves are completed. I'm doing the body now. It is fairly close to the length it needs to be.
It's really nice.
And then you kind of start for the centerpiece. It's the brownstone, and it's by Jared Flood. And it has a section in the front that kind of starts about here, I think, and that's where the collar fits. And actually, I went on to Knitting in Circles.
He's pretty handsome. Is that Jared?
No.
No.
That's just a model. I think. Hopefully. But I went on to Knitting in Circles because Amy knit this sweater. She's also Froggy Monkey on Ravelry, and she knit it for her her partner, and he and my husband are close to the same body style, body shape, like slim athletic build is what we call it. And I knew that she had knit it and talked about it on our podcast, so I went back and rewatched the section about the finished object, and she had said that she didn't like how there's extra fabric around the armholes, and and each picture it shows him crossing his arms and stuff, and in the pattern, so you don't really get a full picture of it, but she said nobody else complained about it in their Ravelry pages. So I'm just gonna knit it as the pattern calls for. Hopefully I don't find the same thing, or maybe it won't bother me as much. I don't know, but I'm interested in seeing how that goes, because it should have a bit of in the picture it looks like positive ease. I think 2 inches positive ease. So
What's that? What's a positive ease?
Questions with Silla.
Questions with Silla. We haven't done questions with Silla in a while.
I know. So what positive ease is how the sweater is going to fit you, or whatever it is going to fit you. So a sock you'll knit, you want it to have, well, most people want it to have a little bit of negative ease. What that means is when you put it on, the fabric stretches to accommodate whatever you're putting into it.
Okay.
So if you make a sweater and it has negative ease, it's going to be a body
fit forming one?
Not necessarily tight. It just depends how many inches of negative ease it has. So if it's 4 inches negative ease, then you're going to be quite tight. It's going to be quite tight and very form-fitting. Whereas if it's 4 inches positive ease, that's the other end of the spectrum. That's how much room you have around you. So it gives you that extra space.
Okay.
So like a cardigan, you would probably, if it's made out of like a really woolly yarn and you're planning on wearing clothing under it, it's just like more of a jacket, then you want more of a positive ease so that you can fit your clothing on underneath of it.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it'll look a little bit bulkier, but it will it'll accommodate different layers underneath, and it gives it a different look.
Oh, that makes sense. I like positive ease.
You're a fan of the positive ease.
I'm a big fan of positive ease.
Yeah, so this has about 2 inches of positive ease. So the smallest size that it lists is actually 2 inches larger than what I need it to be, I believe. Or what I used to need it to be. Yeah, it's about 2 inches larger than what I need it to be. So, yeah. So far, super simple pattern.
It looks simple.
Yeah, I just have to take into consideration, because I'm not using wool, I'm using a cotton blend. It doesn't stretch as much as a wool is going to, so I need to take that into consideration while I'm knitting it as well.
And why aren't you using wool?
Because he didn't want something that was itchy. But there's other wools that aren't itchy.
Yeah, there are definitely other wools that
aren't itchy.
But
I just have knit him
a few wool sweaters.
Wool sweaters that are, one's more of a jacket.
Yeah.
And the other one is, it's a layering sweater. So he can wear stuff under it, but it's a sweater, so.
Nice.
But yeah.
I love how fast and easy you can just knit up a sweater. I'm gonna knit a sweater. 2 days later, hey look, it's a sweater!
This one I've been working on for a while, because it doesn't hold my attention.
Well, it's because it's a pretty simple pattern.
Yeah. It does, yeah. If I just sat down and got it done, I could get it done fairly quickly. I haven't worked on it very much. I haven't worked on it since our last podcast, at least.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm working on some other things. And speaking of which, I have something else here that I am working on. I started a pair of socks. And I'm going to, just a second, show you that beautiful yarn.
Yarn is gorgeous.
Isn't that fantastic? I've already started the heel flap. So that is happening right now. and it's a slip stitch heel flap, and I've started it on the front of the foot, and I used the yarn from the middle of the ball to do the heel flap. But what I've done is I started it on the where the stitch marker was for the front of the foot, and I'm putting the heel there, and so my yarn, my original working yarn, is on this side. And then I go back and forth, do the heel flap, and then the turn, and then when I pick up my stitches, I'll be picking up with the regular spot of the yarn, but I start in the exact right spot that I need to be. So I don't have to cut that yarn and have another end to weave in. I just start picking up down, across, and around, and then keep knitting. So it's not, because if I started on the other side, if I started over here, then the end of my yarn would be there, and then it would be back and forth, and then I'd have to pick up on the top of, or maybe that side. It works out differently, so it's on a different side. Yeah, because I would start over here and then work my way back, and then so then it would be on the wrong side because my working yarn would be over here, I think. It works out perfectly this way.
So that's how she's doing it.
So that's how I'm doing it, yeah.
Where'd you get that yarn?
And this yarn I got on a trip to Nelson, and it is Nelson, British Columbia. And we drove through 2 areas that had massive forest fires. One of them's Rock Creek, and I can't believe how close to the town, to the village that the fire was. I can't believe it. It came down the highway, and there's like, because it's on a steep hill, the highway comes down and then it cuts back and then it goes through the town. So so there was like black crispiness from above the top part of the hill, and then as you come down into the town on that part of the hill as well. So it jumped the highway and went down that way, and then there's like this little bridge area that leads into the town, and the bridge is essentially where it stopped, and then there's buildings, but at the top of the hill, when you're going up, you can see where somebody's house burned down, and there's just a chimney standing there, but you can just see the top of where the chimney is. So somebody's house did get burnt in that one, and it was quite a large fire. We got smoke from there for a while. But so we went to Nelson. We went on a big camping expedition. That's where our journey led us. So we went from here, and we went to Revelstoke, and we camped in Revelstoke and saw an old homesteading place, and there's this old like rock wall and these rock pillars that come up that used to be a stone fence, and then there's a line of trees that go along there, and a little like a little pond right beside where the house was. The house has been gone for a while, but
not due to a fire, right?
No. That was an old house, and so we walked along there and along the river. Then we went out to Calgary, and we got to hang out with my partner's cousin and her family, and it was wonderful to actually hang out with her, and actually, like, we've met before, but it was under different circumstances, so we didn't actually get a chance to like sit and chat. And as we're sitting there having dinner, I noticed she had some knitting tucked away.
Of course you did.
I'm like, do you knit? She's like, yeah, I knit. And I was like, are you on Ravelry? She's like, yes, I am. Then she showed me the things she knits, and it was awesome. She's a great knitter. She's knit things that are more difficult than I've knit. I think some of them. Yeah. So I got to see those things, and she could even be watching this podcast. So hello. And then we went, so that was in Calgary. The smoke here was really bad from the Washington fire, and so what prompted me wanting to leave was to get out of the smoke, and I'm like, let's go to Alberta. It's on the other side of the Rockies. We should be able to escape the smoke. It was terrible. The smoke was horrendous there the whole time. Like, we got one day of sunshine and then we left back into the smoke pit. And so we went to Calgary, saw some family. Then we went to Drumheller and we went through the Royal Tyrrell Museum. And it's the largest dinosaur museum in the world. And through the Alberta Badlands, which they look very similar to South Dakota Badlands, I want to say, in the U.S.
You could be right.
So a lot of people were saying that it did look similar. It is similar, like geologically it does. It's got the stripes on the soil. You actually go from the prairies down into the Badlands. So the highway goes really steeply down.
I love that it's called Badlands.
I know, it's so cool. And it's this massive valley, and there's a few communities in there, and Drumheller is one of them. And if you ever get the opportunity, let me tell you.
Definitely go to Drumheller.
You should go there.
Lots and lots of dinosaur history.
Then we went to Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. And
what?
I know.
Is that the name of the town?
And it's a world, it's an UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh.
And it's really cool. It's where the Plains Indians used to collect entire herds of buffalo and essentially trick them into jumping off a cliff, and then they'd have all of their winter's food. So hundreds of buffalo at a time, they would
just jump off a cliff.
Jump off a cliff. So what one of the braves would do is dress up like a baby buffalo and make the sounds that a buffalo in distress would make. So buffalo they're very communal. The herds are run by women, the females, and they're very protective of their young. So one of the braves would dress up like a buffalo, and so like a baby buffalo, make the sounds, and then a couple more braves would dress up like wolves and just kind of stalk around on the outside, and they'd make these like berms that were just like little rock things with things sticking out of them, and the brave who is dressed up would just start doing like the stress cry and start walking towards the cliff, and this process could take a couple days, and the herd would slowly follow this brave and then these braves dressed as wolves would come in behind and just increasingly cause a little bit more stress, and so they would be edgy and uneasy, and then as they would get into this kind of area, they would hold up buffalo hides to create kind of a wall along it, and they would actually, the brave who's dressed like a buffalo would like cry super loud and then start running towards the cliff, and then the braves dressed as wolves would come in behind and start chasing them, and they can't see very well, so
wow, that's really smart.
And then by the end, the brave would just like jump off to the side, and all of the other braves would have their things up, so the buffalo would just have tunnel vision
and jump forward.
And yeah, and so they only follow the buffalo in front of them, so they can't see that there's what's happening, and they all fly off the end. This is the part that actually took us aback, because we thought that the head smashed in part was that it was the buffalo's heads that were smashed in. Yeah. That's not where the name comes from. So
where's the name come from?
There was and I believe the tribe is the Blackfoot. Anyway, there was a young brave who wanted to watch the buffaloes jump off. And so he went below the cliff to watch them jump off so he could get a first-hand view. And the buffalo kept piling up and piling up and piling up. And they squished him against the rock. And when they uncovered him, his head was smashed in. We're like, what?
That's a great story.
Poor brave. That's why it's named Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump.
Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
but the area was used for like 6 to 10,000 years.
But you know, that's kind of smart because they know, like, don't get your young braves down there or they're going to get their head smashed in when the buffalo jump.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Yeah, it was an awesome tour. That's something else I recommend. And then from there, we went to... We're getting the jibber jabber right in the middle of this. Okay. I'll hurry up.
Sounds like a good story. I started it. Where'd you get the yarn, Marcia?
Yeah.
I didn't go on this trip. I stayed home and did boring research. But
yeah.
I love hearing the stories.
Then we came back into BC. We saw the world's largest truck, and it's painted green. And we went up to...
The world's largest truck?
Yeah.
Is it actually the world's largest truck, or do they... Okay.
Yeah, it was bigger than the buildings around it. And it's painted green. You could probably Google it. And we went to Nelson and saw more family and picked up this beautiful yarn. So this yarn is, which I purchased in Nelson, is called, it looks like On Louis, Super Sock 6 Bash. It's a German wool. It's 150 grams, 375 meters, and it is 75% wool and 25% polyamide. I'll show you the...
Oh, it's kind of different smell.
Yeah, I haven't smelled it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it smells good.
Yeah.
And my partner picked this one. I picked up this one and a blue one, and he said this one, and he's like, but do you need more wool? And I said, I need more wool for socks for you.
He's like, oh, well then that one's pretty.
And that one's perfect. So yeah, then from Nelson, we came home.
And that's the end of that.
That's the end of that. So that's where that came from. So I'm still working on my pattern and my shawl pattern, and I have 3 wonderful ladies who have said that they would test knit for me.
So thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies, very much. The first one is Molly O'Malley is her Instagram name, and J Sassy 1. And You Who Knits, who is Georgina, who also has a podcast and has yarn and things. Thank you very much, ladies.
I'm sure all the women have yarn.
No, she sells yarn.
I know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so thank you very much, ladies, for offering to test knit that. I'm still writing up the pattern, and that will be sent to you very shortly. And I'm super excited.
It's super exciting.
And we also are going to be having a new section in our podcast.
A new section.
I know. And I've already opened the thread in Ravelry, and it is called What Are You Working On? And so what we're going to do is anybody it's not unlike the Bakery Bears. I really like the idea, so I stole it. Thanks, guys.
So, thanks. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Dan.
And yeah, so if somebody engages us in conversation or like says something that really makes an impact, they come and introduce themselves in our Down the Rabbit Hole thread.
Down the rabbit hole.
We're not going to be doing an introduction for everybody who introduces themselves. We just want somebody who's engaging us and, throughout the week.
Yeah, we just want to acknowledge and
continue
the conversation.
It's not only for those people that we ask, it's for everybody. So if you're working on something, because it tends to be that the only things that you really post are the things that you're doing for Knitalongs. Well, we want to see the things that everybody's working on, whether you're
doing it for Knitalong with somebody else or
just anything, just whatever you're working on. We want to see it.
We want to see
it all.
And I'm on Ravelry now too, so I want to stalk you better. Get to know you better through your knitting. No, creepy. No, just kidding.
Little bit. So, I also wanted to mention a couple podcasts that I have been tuning into. One of them is Mina of the Knitting Expat podcast, and she did a shout out to us on her podcast, and I just wanted to say thank you very much. Thank you. And Mina is also a designer, and she's designing like mittens, and she's designed a few shawls, mittens and a hat and a cowl.
Oh, that's awesome.
Combo, I think. So they're all inspired by each other. And she also has run into the same problem as I have, and that is with multiple test knitters. Some people just saying that they want to test knit and then taking the pattern, not test knitting, and disappearing off the face of the planet. So
really, that's a thing?
That's the thing, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why this time I limited it to 3, because I don't want that to happen again.
No. And I'm sure people have the best intentions.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that too. And there's a couple people that contacted me and said, hey, things have changed and I can't now, and that's totally acceptable. Like, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
and
like
very different.
Keeping that communication open.
And
right?
that's why I decided on 3, because that way I can be a lot more on top of it.
Yeah, and then if there is any issues, it's back and forth really easy.
Also, I've been listening to the Relentless Knitting Company audio podcast, and that is K-Ray, and I think that's her name on Instagram, and the other girl's name is Emily, but I can't think what her Ravelry name is or Instagram. So I've been listening to their podcast for a little while. They actually are from the Okanagan Valley as well. It's an audio podcast, so I listened to it, download it, and listen to it, which is perfect. They are from like the next city down, almost. I guess there's one other city between. There's 2 little towns, but
so hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah,
hop, skip, and a jump.
They're on the same lake that we're on, and they were talking about a Knit City Vancouver event that is coming up in October 2nd to October 4th.
Super exciting.
And I registered right away. So I'm super excited because I'm going to get to meet, I don't know if it's both of them. And
you might be able to arrange a meet and greet just outside of that too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm for sure going to be meeting with, it's Carla who's K-Ray. So, but Carla and I have already talked to each other, and we're going to get together and have coffee or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
But Silla's not attending. She is looking after the house.
I'm going to spend that weekend parenting.
She's going to be practicing what she preaches. Yes, and their podcast is very cool. It's it's on iTunes, and it is it's really cool. Now, Silla.
Yes, Marcia?
It's your favorite section of all.
So we mentioned before, all through the summer, keeping the anxiety high. No, keeping the excitement high, that in September, Psychology with Silla would be returning.
So guess what time it is?
It's time for Psychology with Silla!
Hello, and welcome to Psychology with Silla, where we take a moment to discuss the effects of knitting on our psyche and different aspects that touch our futures. We are going to be speaking today with Silla, and she's currently working on her master's in child and youth psychology. She doesn't like fish. She worked at Disney World as a young adult for a year, and she doesn't like going to the dentist. Please help me welcome Silla! Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me here today.
You're welcome. And what are we discussing today, Silla?
Today we are going to talk about mindfulness and how it relates to knitting.
What is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is about being present in the moment and experiencing life as it comes. So really, it's about not thinking about the past and not thinking about the future, but being present in every moment of every day.
And how is that impactful in knitting?
Well, you see, when you're knitting, being present in the moment can help you enjoy the knitting, enjoy each stitch, and feel connected to your knitting. And it also has impacts on the brain, which you can actually develop new cells within the brain that have the potential for billions of neural connections.
Excellent. So, how do we practice mindfulness in our knitting?
Well, to practice mindfulness, you really have to let go of all your worries. Let go of what was going on for you earlier that day. Let go of what you're thinking about making for supper. Just let it all go and think about in the moment exactly what you're working on.
So would you think about exactly what you're working on as a whole? Like when I'm knitting on a cardigan, am I going to be thinking about the end product of the cardigan, or am I thinking about my needle slipping into that next stitch and the yarn caressing the top of the needle and pulling that stitch through? Like, how far is that going?
Well, you really do. If you are practicing mindfulness, you really do want to make sure that you are focusing specifically on the stitch you're working on. So feel the yarn in your hands, feel the texture, feel the ply, feel the softness, and feel the needles, feel the cold. Like, pay attention to the cold, pay attention to the firmness, and the texture of the metal, and then the difference between the texture of the metal and the texture of the needles. So you really want to pay attention to everything as the feeling of your arm as you're moving the yarn over your needles.
Is there any sort of sounds we should be concentrating on as well?
Just concentrate on the sounds of the needles as they touch each other. And keep in mind, mindfulness takes practice. And so you'll often find yourself when you practice this mindfulness technique that you start thinking about other things. Don't judge yourself too harshly when that happens. Just let the thought come and be aware that it's there, and then let it go. And then focus back on your knitting.
So some people like to do knitting in front of the television where they're not actually focusing on each stitch. Like, it's called mindless knitting, something that they, you know, like potato chip knitting or something like that. And something that doesn't require a lot of focus per stitch, etc. How much time would you say to consider setting aside for specifically mindful knitting? Like, is there a set amount of time we should be looking at, and what does that look like?
Well, mindfulness knitting, because of the benefits of mindfulness, the creation of new cells within your brain, the reduced stress, the being present in the moment, it's important to get in the habit of this. When you're first starting out with mindful knitting, you want to start with 3 to 5 minutes. You don't want to do any more than that, and then gradually work your way up. And some people choose to mindfulness knit for 10 minutes a day. Some people choose to do it twice a day for 5 minutes. Just get in the habit of doing it and get in practice and make sure it works with your life. Because what happens is, even when you practice mindfulness knitting, even if you do it for a short amount of time, you'll notice that throughout your life and your other tasks, you'll be practicing mindfulness at the same time. And so that in itself has a lot of benefits for personal well-being, for the development of new cells, for making new connections.
So I have another question. When you are practicing mindfulness in your knitting, what are you feeling internally? Like, what are the emotions, the feelings? Is there a grounding response to them being mindful while you're knitting?
You should be feeling a grounding response. If you're feeling anxiety about it, that's something some people who start doing the mindfulness feel anxiety. Because they're like, I can't just be in here, I'm distracted by this. Don't be hard on yourself. Let those feelings come and go. Let them pass, and give yourself the grace in order to do that. The more you do it, it will feel calm, and it will bring a calm to your being. And some people just, when they're feeling anxious, they take 5 minutes and just put themselves in another room and practice being in the present. And that's what I recommend too, is when you do it, get into a relaxed position in a place void of distractions.
Excellent. So taking that moment to focus specifically on each stitch, the texture of the yarn versus the feeling of the needles, the sliding of each stitch, the wrapping, the sound your needles are making when they click, when they slide across each other. in gentle motions and the rhythm that comes out of knitting. Because it's, for me, it's click click slide, click click slide. And I just really, when I'm getting into a rhythm, then I just it is,
It's click click slide.
Click click slide.
And a lot of people practice mindfulness who aren't knitters will practice it with their breathing. They often say focus on your breathing. So focus on breathing in, breathing out, and the sound of your breath and your body filling with air. Well, you can do the same with your knitting, right? Practice on that click, click, slide, click, click, slide, click, click, slide. I don't recommend you do mindfulness knitting when you're doing intense color work or intense stitches that require a lot of counting, because that's activating a different part of your brain. And although that has a lot of value for brain development and actual alertness and learning new techniques, it doesn't work when you're practicing mindfulness, because your brain is working, a different part of your brain is activated, than when you're actually, concentrating on simple rhythmic movements and it's like the breath, right? It's the click, click, slide.
So it's good to be using your simple knitting, your sock knitting, your cookie cutter knitting, your potato chip knitting, to practice this technique on. Oh, absolutely. Find a stitch that you're comfortable with and that you know really well, and use that to practice your mindfulness knitting. It shouldn't require your brain to be doing any learning. It should be a rhythmic pattern that's already well ingrained in your brain. Excellent. And what about, you said no distractions. Is soft music a distraction, or is that something that would that help deepen the experience? And it really depends on soft music. I recommend for some people soft music can be great. For others, it's just having that sheer quiet. I mean, if you have a lot going on in your house and you can, pull yourself around in a room, but there's still all that background noise, then soft music can help to tune out what's going on outside of what you're doing. Oh, excellent, excellent. So, is there anything else you wanted to add to that? Yes, if you are going to have soft music in the background, though, make sure it does not have lyrics, because music with lyrics will activate another part of your brain, and it causes your brain to actually focus on the lyrics rather than focus on what you're doing in the moment. Excellent, excellent. So I could transfer this information to, say, studying. You could transfer this information to studying. The great thing about mindfulness activity is it has been shown to develop new glia cells or cells in the brain. And those are the cells that are created in your gray matter. And when those cells are created, they're little baby neurons is what they are. And so each neuron has the potential to create billions of different pathways connecting to the other neurons. And so it can help with memory, it can help with retention, it can help with learning new tasks and new stitches. So if you are wanting to learn new stitches, practice mindfulness first. Practicing for 5 minutes a day can actually help with your ability to learn new things and learn new stitches and actually advance your knitting in the long run. Excellent. That's all excellent information. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? The only thing I'd like to add is please feel free to practice this technique on your own if it's something that you think would benefit you and your knitting. Excellent. Thank you very much, Silla, for coming back and seeing us and showing us and speaking with us. And thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you. Click, click, slide. Oh, Silla, welcome back. Welcome back. That was really good. Well, thanks. I hope you're all feeling relaxed and knit along. Wow. Words not coming today. Yeah. And well knitted and well rested. Yeah, I love it because I try to be mindful of my knitting all the time. And I think you should be mindful of your knitting all the time. Like mindful in my knitting. Just being present in the moment. Yep, present in the moment. Exactly. I love it. Oh, I had a dentist appointment the other day. Yeah. Can we segue into my dentist appointment? Sure, it's all jibber jabber this time. So. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, it'll be quick. So I had a dentist appointment the other day, and they did both sides of my mouth. And I don't enjoy the dentist. And so I'm sitting in the chair, and they're drilling and filling, and the power goes out. So that wasn't good.
And then I started to get antsy and fidgety, and so I started moving around. The dentist, my dentist is absolutely fantastic, by the way. He's like, "You doing okay? Do you need a quick break?" And I was like, I don't know. And then, so I was doing better and I was doing okay. And then I was watching Dr. Oz, which I'd never even heard of. And he was doing this segment on mindfulness. And about being present in the moment and, just really being there and experiencing everything as it was going. Well, I was doing a great job trying to dissociate from what was going on in the moment.
So, what do you mean by dissociate?
I mean, bring my mind to somewhere else. Put myself in a place that felt safe, felt comfortable, and wasn't anxiety-provoking. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was working on doing. It was going great until this mindfulness thing came on. And then I'm like, okay, so then I'm listening to the sound of the drill, and I'm being present, and I'm feeling the sensations, and it was a little bit too overwhelming for me. So I need to switch the channel and find a different way to dissociate. But it was just, mindfulness is definitely a valuable tool to use in the right context. I don't think mindfulness is meant to be used when you're going through a situation that is uncomfortable or unsafe.
Mm-hmm. Uncomfortable.
Yes. So that was my dental segue.
Oh, good. So, do you have any finished objects?
I don't.
Okay.
Marsha, do you have any finished objects?
Yes, I do. I finished my Stree socks by Laura Neal, and they are in the Fairy Little in Ireland colorway.
They're so pretty.
The yarn is from Yoo-Hoo Knits. They haven't actually been blocked yet. I'm just putting them on the blockers though. They do need to be blocked. One is a little bit longer than the other, and I'm going to make them the same by blocking them. It's a little, it's a lot. When you look at it like that.
There, now it looks the same. All better.
It's perfect. So I'm just going to block them. My gauge changed between the two. The stitches I'm a stitch counter, but also, like, the gauge is definitely different. This one's quite a bit tighter than this one as well. So this one's,
I love how you pulled them out to make them look even. I would have just pushed down the taller one.
This is cool. Okay. But this yarn, there's quite a bit of it left. Like, the skeins are very generous. So there's a lot there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And this is going to be going into my sock blanket.
Ooh, so pretty. And that was
crocheted sock blanket.
And that was just one skein.
Yeah.
Both those socks.
Yeah.
With that much left.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
I probably could do a couple ankle socks out of what's left. Actually, I'm not going to, but I could. I feel like there's enough there. And
I think it'd be gorgeous in your scrappy sock blanket.
It's the Irish Fairy Tree base, and it's 418 yards in a skein, 80% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon. And Georgina is going through some stuff right now, so all her wool in her Etsy shop, yoohooknits.etsy.com, is on sale right now. So the last time I was in there, I think there was 6 or 7 skeins left. So if you want to go in there and pick up something for a good deal, then
now's the time.
Now's the time. There's a couple skeins in there that I absolutely love, but I can't. I can't buy any more wool right now.
Can't. But
I just bought some. Yeah. So that's finished. The yarn is really nice to knit with. I like the consistent, like the feeling of it, the way it knits up. It's got a nice twist to it. So there's, it's just really nice. It's a 3-ply, I think.
Are you unplying it to see?
I'm unspinning it to see. Yep,
yeah, it's a 3-ply.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, and I'm so thankful Georgina thought to come design some yarn,
dye you your own specific
dye
name and
for
color,
me and come up with that concept, and then give it to me. Like, that was beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Beautiful.
So wonderful. So,
yeah, and I knit those on my 2.25 millimeter high sharps. They're actually the ones that I cast this sock on with, and this yarn is super stretchy with this gauge, so it's creating a nice dense sock, which is something that I really like.
That's nice.
I like dense.
So if you have a really tight gauge, more questions with Silla. if you have a really tight gauge, as most newer knitters do, is it better to go a half size up on your needles?
Well,
or is it better just to practice relaxing?
It depends what you're knitting.
Okay.
Is what I would say. If you're doing color work, then I would say go up probably a few needle sizes.
Okay.
Just because when you're doing color work anyway, you need to be stretching your work as you're knitting it so that your floats don't get too tight, because if they're too tight, then you can't get, say, a hat on.
Okay. And what's a float? So that's the crossover knits in the back, or
it's the yarn that when you're knitting and you change color, it's the yarn between where you left it and
where you start
your new stitch.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you have to give that a tug to give it the extra.
Okay, yeah, because I've noticed when I do slippers, because I'm a tight knitter, I've noticed when I do slippers that sometimes if I don't pull that tight, they ball up more, and then they become like hard to get. Like they're more bally in each color. Am I making any sense?
Because you just, you switch
because
colors.
I don't, because I pull it tight when I switch colors, but I need to leave it a little bit looser.
Yeah, if you do that with a hat, you won't be able to get your head.
Okay.
In. Yeah.
Good to know.
That would make some really interesting mittens, though. So that's my finished object that I have. And do you want to talk about our knit-along?
I would love to talk about our knit-along. So September, I'm just going to get right in here and talk to you like this. So September we're doing a knit-along, which is our double knit-along. And you have two options. You can do a double knit-along, you can do a double knit-along. And the double
it's all in the same thread.
Yeah, it's all in the same thread. So the double knit-along option would be to knit a swatch with the technique of double knitting. And then the other option, if you don't want to try double knitting, or double knitting is not your thing, you've tried it before and it's not something you want to do, you can knit two colors. So knit something that's like a pattern work with two colors. So do some color work. But it needs to be, the double part is, the first double is the two colors. The second double is two pieces. So it can be socks, it can be leg warmers, it can be mittens, it can be ear warmers if that's what you're making. But there just needs to be two of them. And they need to go together. And that's a double.
Nice.
Or just the double. So that's our knit along for September.
And the thread is already open, so there's a chatter thread as well there, and that's the one you can chat in. And then there's the finished objects thread, which is no chatter, just put a picture and write a short description, and maybe if you used a pattern, link the pattern there. I also have the link to Carrie's pattern Pop-Up Cherries in that thread as well, so if that's something you want to just go and even take a look at. It's a super simple pattern especially for somebody who's new to color work. It's because it goes so quickly, you can either do the mittens or the fingerless mittens, fingerless gloves, and the pattern is really good for somebody who's never done it before but has enough interest in it to keep somebody who has been knitting for a while interested. Yeah. Interested.
Yeah.
Really.
And if you want to post pictures of your finished objects in the chatter thread, feel free to do that. I like to be a little bit of a rebel sometimes, and I really want to comment in the no chatter thread. And that's when Marsha makes that face when I say I'm going to, like So, yeah, because I like to look at what people are working on, and I like to comment on the things that I like, and
yeah. So, but make sure that you also put it in the finished object thread so that you're entered
in the draw
to win. So we do have, and the prize for that one is going to be a copy of the Pop-Up Cherries pattern, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
So, and so even if you did the pattern, and so you bought the pattern and you knit that, then you could actually request that it be gifted to somebody else if you wanted.
Yeah.
So, okay, and we also just completed our last contest, our last knit along.
Yay! And congratulations and thank you for everyone who entered.
We had 16 people enter.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've already drawn the name. I did it off screen, but I used the random
number calculator
generator. I still have it saved on my phone. I took a picture of it too. So it is completely random, and I'm super excited.
And our winner is...
So I'm not doing the winner yet. Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Sorry, I got excited.
The tension mounts.
I get really excited when we announce winners.
So the prize for this one is I am going to dye some yarn for the winner.
Oh,
I've already looked at the winner's profile, so I know the color preference. I've looked at the it's a her. I've looked at her finished objects and projects and stuff to see what kind of color palette she tends to go towards. And I have dyed up some wool just to practice. I have this one that starts off with a super bright pink, and then it goes to like a blue and a purple, and then another blue and a purple, lighter one, and then it goes to this outside color. And that is very...
It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's very accurate, actually, I'd say.
Yeah, it's really accurate.
It's looking really accurate. So that's what it looks like. This is in a lace weight, and there's about 1,200 yards in this cake. So it's 100 grams.
Is that what it's called when it's in a ball? Is a cake?
No, this is a cake. When it's in a ball, it's a ball.
No, sorry, when it's done on the spinner thing.
Yes.
It's called a cake.
Yes, when it's wound.
Wound.
Yeah,
Cool.
Because it looks like a cake.
Oh, I like it.
Isn't that cool?
That makes sense.
And this one I dyed up, and it's more of just subtle purples and blues.
Yeah, I like that one too. It's really pretty.
It's very pretty, but it's not all the same color. And my winder had an issue, so I'm going to rewind this. But yeah, so those are some of the colors that I've been playing with. And again, this one is about 1,200 yards of a lace weight. And then I have one more, but I'll show it to you after. So what I need from this person is to know if they prefer sock or lace weight, and what kind of colors. I've looked, and I can do pink and purple and blue and all shades of green. The person probably knows who they are now.
Pink and purple and blue and all shades of green. Did she say that she liked all shades of green?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I think so. Yeah.
All shades of green.
Yes. So the winner is...
Oh, now we can drum roll?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. The worst.
Yeah, it's the best I got. Hold on.
Drumming ever. Oh my goodness.
All right.
I digress. The winner's
Okay,
like...
drum roll.
Number 3, who is Sulu.
This is the worst drum roll.
Suloops!
Yay! Congratulations, Suloops.
So get a hold of me and tell me if you prefer sock or lace weight. Of course, if it's sock weight, it's less yardage. I also have sport weight, I believe, and then again, less yardage. So this lace weight that I dyed up,
That's so pretty.
is 50% silk and 50% merino wool.
It's really soft.
Super soft. So, yes, and I have more of that. So yeah, congratulations. And she knit the Sock Knitter Shawl by Kay Jones. And okay.
And there's more?
But wait, there's more. I dyed.
I like that one. I like the color it shows on there.
I know. It's still fairly
It's
accurate.
still pretty accurate.
Very,
yeah.
It's more red than pink, I want to say. Like the color it's showing right there.
Yeah.
That's what color it is. So it just depends on the angle, but yeah,
Angle
like that.
And the light and the shadow.
And this is a lace weight, and there is over 1,500 yards in this. And I over processed it just a little bit, so it's a little bit. Once I wind it up, it won't stick so much, but I'm happy with it anyway. I wouldn't send something out to somebody that was over processed, so have no fear. It's just
Have no fear, yarn snobs.
Yeah.
Marsha understands.
Yeah, no, because I'm just the same way. But but with the red, it's hard to get a deep red because I use food coloring, and this is half silk. So silk always dyes differently than just wool. So where it's like the wool dyes darker, I feel like, than the silk. The silk gives it a nice sheen, but yeah, it's not as deep as I've gotten like 100% wool, and so that's why it ended up getting over processed a little bit, because I was just trying to make it deeper, and so it went in the pot twice. So, but it's fine. There's enough wool here for me to recast on my Pride and Prejudice, and this is going to be my Pride and Prejudice. And one of the things I'm super excited about with this is there will be no knots in my sweater except for where there's joining of sleeves, and that's it.
Because it's all one.
Because it's all one, and there are no small knots in here. I've checked. So it's fully,
that's wonderful.
this yarn, 1,500 yards, not free. Not free. It's not free.
I was gonna say it's not free. I'm like, of course it's not free.
Not free. Hooray.
But it's also KNOT free.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm all over the map today. I feel like all over.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Okay, so let's go back, because I just like fully segued right out of the Knit City thing. So I'm going to the Knit City Vancouver event October 2nd to 4th. And I have registered for sock knitting, design your own custom fit socks, next step in lace knitting, and for a couple of the lectures. So I want to throw that in there. So if anybody's going, I'm going to be there. And come up and say hello, because I would love to see you and talk to you. And I have an exam coming up in 2 weeks, so I probably won't be posting for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, until after Marsha's exam after this.
No, it's not even 2 weeks. It's a week and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming right up, so I'm going to be working on that. That barking is, in fact, my dog.
He says hello.
So I believe now is the time to say goodbye. Okay, what do you want to do?
I think we need to say goodbye. But I miss them when we say goodbye.
I know. Isn't that weird?
It is.
So weird.
I miss you when we say goodbye. All right. I guess we can continue this on Ravelry and Instagram.
All right. Have a great day.
Have a wonderful day. Until next time.
Until next time. Voice.
You can't be in the moment?
Not with your voice. Not with... Now touch your ear. Like, is that the voice you use with your clients?
Yeah. You can't fake it until we get through this section? Seriously?
No. I keep almost laughing every time you say something. I'm just like...